Well, good morning, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Daybreak Live. Positively Osceola, working hard, trying to get all the information that you care about out to you guys. And happy Monday morning to you, for sure. And a little cold this morning, a little chilly, icy, as I tried to start my Chevy Suburban up. A little ice all over the place this morning, but 343,000 miles. She turned right over. Gotta love it. Prefer the warm weather, although I actually was born in Buffalo, New York, home of the Bills, who didn't win last night, but go Bills anyway. So there you have it, folks. Hey, you know what? It is a wonderful start to the day because today we get to share some really important information. As I said last week, sometimes with how busy life is, we're all spinning in circles. It's hard to keep up with what's going on. And, I think when we say national politics or we talk about politics in general or government in general, we tend to default to the national side. And that makes sense for sure. It's always important to keep up with what's going on as far as the national governmental scene is. But what truly affects us the most, and I think people don't think about this all that often, is your local government, your state, your local government. That really has an effect on our lives on a daily basis. It really does. It's quick to affect us. And there's also a way for us to engage with those elected officials that represent us in a way that's really hard to do in the national side. So for sure, we are just very happy this morning to once again welcome to Daybreak Live from Positively Osceola, State Representative from District 43, Kristen Arrington. And how are you, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Just a little chilly, like you said, up here in Tallahassee, but I'm having a great week already and looking forward to it.
You're like in the Arctic up there, so far away from Central Florida.
For Florida, yes, it would definitely be considered the Arctic.
It was 37 degrees. I got up. I'm like, I'll be that guy that goes out and scratches the temperature on your Florida windshield. I did it. So it's over for the year. I don't have to do it again.
There you go.
I think it got cold up there. We were super fortunate. I know if you were down here, I know you're up in Tallahassee. If you were down here, you would have been able to do this. We stopped over at the St. Cloud at First United Methodist Church in St. Cloud, where they opened up their doors to some folks last night because it was pretty chilly. And I know that happened on the west corridor of Kissimmee as well. So good to see some people out there helping others don't have the shelter and the warmth that we probably did, but. Nonetheless, my car, as I said, did start this morning. Hey, let's go. We got some people popping on. Let's go ahead and make this official, okay?
Sounds good.
Super. Well, again, welcome to Positively Osceola's Daybreak Live, and we are super honored to have Kristen Arrington, who is the state representative in District 43, and certainly affects the area that we speak to, the audience that we speak to every day. And so we're glad you're here today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Keith. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, a little chilly up here in Tallahassee, but glad to be speaking to you guys bright and early on a Monday morning to start off the week on the right foot.
Yeah, it makes us grateful when it's in the 70s and low 80s, but we tend to pay the price in the summer when it gets a little on the warm side. So,
absolutely, I will be complaining at that time. I have a smile right now because at least I'd be able to get out my sweater and my boots for a little bit.
Telling you, get the PJs, the heavy laden PJs are nice this time of year. So again, I'm gonna kind of just turn this over to you, and again, we really appreciate that you're giving us an update of what's going on up in Tallahassee during the legislative session, and. So why don't you go ahead and, like I said, I'll kind of turn it over to you. What's going on right now? What you're expecting out of this week? Maybe what you've already seen and those things you're working on, please.
Okay, great. This week starts week 3 of legislative session. Our schedule, though, for this week is just committees where we'll be voting on legislation before they get to the House floor, but we're not going to be on the floor this week. So, like I said, we will just have our committee meetings to keep on vetting the bills that are coming before us. I'd like to give a little bit of update of last week, since we spoke at the beginning of week 2. So last week we had some good news for Osceola for our appropriation requests, got through their first stops. One is doing a study on Lake Toho to see what we can do for long-term solutions to help with the hydrilla problem. Another appropriation was for Osceola Recovery, and that's for folks that are recovering for addiction. And that is a new organization. It's in a lot of other areas, but we don't have one in Osceola, so this would help get it off and get it started. And then additionally, we have a couple other appropriations that have already moved forward. And so we're looking forward to hopefully them going to their next stop this week or next. And that would be for Kissimmee, for them to have security on the Shingle Creek Trail, and then also to help them finish their training facility for our first responders. So these are things that are all very important to our area. Additionally, we have an appropriation that's gotten through already for the first stop for the Community Hope Center, which I'm sure Mary Downey will tell me I'm probably saying it wrong. I think it's been rebranded now to the Hope Center, for them to provide some affordable housing, attainable housing for folks that have lower income. We know folks on the corridor need that as soon as possible. And then also our appropriation request got through its first stop for Victory Village, which is already affordable housing facility in Osceola. That was a hotel motel conversion. And luckily they keep their rents down, but because of that, they have some issues with the property that we want to go ahead and look at fixing. So it's a safe facility for everybody that resides there. So those are the positives that happened from last week. I do want to go over some of the partisan stuff. You know, when we talk, I say probably about 90 to 95% of what we pass here in Tallahassee is, you know, bipartisan, and is definitely something that we all agree on. But we did have a couple of partisan bills that, depending on what side of the aisle you're on, but you probably do feel passionate about. So they got through their first step last week. So I want people to know so they can be involved and see in the next stop, or they can let their legislators know how they feel about that legislation. Mm-hmm. Last week, we saw the abortion ban bill to ban abortion after 15 weeks, unless you have proof of, let me say this correctly, fetal abnormalities, but we would also have to have 2 physicians sign off on that to be able to have the abortion. But otherwise, any abortion after 15 weeks would be banned. There was no outs for those that have been raped or victims of incest or sex trafficking. So those were some things that were definitely partisan this last week, and they're moving forward because it did pass on its first committee stop. So whatever way you feel on that issue, you can go to myfloridahouse.gov and you can read that, and you can also reach out to your legislators to let them know how to vote on its next stop. That's probably the one that I've received the most emails about so far this session. So I want to make sure, everybody's up to date on that, because as you said, we all are busy in our lives. And so, we miss some of these things that are, going on. Additionally, last week, another bill that went through its first stop was one to get rid of school board members' pay. And so I voted against that and spoke against that. I know, especially now during COVID, our school board members have been working hard and working late, as have our teachers. And so that bill had some language that was also going to put more work on our teachers. So I did vote against that. So those were kind of the 2 controversial-ish bills, or the most controversial that I saw last week, that are still moving forward. So like I said, I definitely recommend folks to, get involved in that process. You can watch on the floridachannel.org online, or you can watch on your TV on the Florida Channel, so you can keep up to date, or you can also watch those committee meetings afterwards. If you're a nerd like me and you like to watch that stuff late at night, it might help you go to sleep. But it's just always good, to get yourself, kind of involved in that process, and especially if it's something that's, passionate to you. I mentioned last week, you can go onto our website and you can set up tracking for certain issues. So if you're an animal lover like me, you can set up alerts so you can know what animal bills are moving forward. And so I think that's great, because it encourages folks to get involved, and also lets you get involved in the things that are passionate to you.
I'm glad that we kind of opened in the way we did this morning, when I said, it's national politics. Certainly, we're blasted with it. News isn't shy of showing and re-showing lots of this, of what's going on. And it's good that does take place. But so much that applies to our everyday, almost every hour, is certainly going to be local or state level politics, or in all the elected officials working hard to represent what we do. That is the nature of how we are governed. Correct? I mean, it's a representative government. It's not a direct democracy for the most part. We have some instances when we can, at the ballot box, we're able to direct vote for certain things, but in reality, it is representative that makes it happen for us. And I think that is a great thing. So you mentioned appropriations. Now, I don't know that everybody knows exactly what that is.
Thank you for saying that. Yes,
Certainly
I'm
you do.
using a little too much lingo.
Oh, good.
Appropriations would be money for projects. So it's called our appropriation request because that has to go through the appropriation committees before it
Right.
goes to the budget. So basically, it's just a project. Usually, it's a nonprofit or it's a government entity that a lot of times, if they have matching funds, they're more desirable. So that always helps out a lot. And I think most of our requests do have matching funds. So we've been working really hard on those and bugging the appropriation chairs to try to keep those moving forward because they're very important to our area. But also, I do want to say last week we voted on the first maps for redistricting. And when you and I spoke last Monday, we were talking about maps that had been around for about 2 months. And then on Tuesday evening, a new map dropped after we had met via this. So on Friday, we did vote on those maps for us, and they were accepted. So they'll be moving forward, and it would create. Currently, we have 3 seats within Osceola, so it would have 4 seats within Osceola. So Osceola would have more representation. I did vote against the maps because we just got them Tuesday night and we had to vote Friday morning. And I just didn't feel that we had enough time for us as legislators to look at them, but also our constituents across the state of Florida didn't get a chance to look at them when we're looking at 120 districts. But I do think for Osceola that's that could be something that could be a positive, is that we do have more representation in Tallahassee and more folks looking out for Osceola.
Gotcha. Which is the core deal for us, right? So redistricting, let's talk a little bit about that for those who might not know why that it takes place, when it takes place, all based on the census, correct?
Correct. See, you already know, Keith, from our conversations, you understand the process. But every 10 years after the census is done, the maps are redrawn for local government and also for your state and congressional seats. And I want to say, rather than saying redrawn, they're reapportioned. So all that data is looked at where, gosh, there's tons of data to look at between, ethnicity, age across the state. But we also have to make sure that we protect like our minority access seats, so minority representation can be. So that's been kind of the big watch and the big fight for a lot of us because as we know, like especially locally, our Hispanic population has grown. So we want to make sure that that is reflected in the representation that they have available to them. So it's been a process we've been working on for a few months. I'm on the State Redistricting Committee, which means that we look at the maps just for the state House seats. And so those were the ones that we passed this last Friday. And so now they will go to the big committee, which is the committee over us, the Redistricting Committee this week. That committee will also vote on congressional maps and also Senate maps. And not to sidetrack, but locally, redistricting has already been done. I believe by the charter, it's supposed to be done in the odd years. So that was done at the end of 2021. So for those folks locally, some of you might have changed your school board or your county commissioner representative. So you might want to look at that as well for locally.
Yeah, I think it has been long now since the census was taken. So obviously, that is something that, throughout the community, you hear people saying, look, please participate, make sure you're participating. That really has an impact on where we're at, specifically for communities like that, like us in Osceola County, where we're seeing large scale growth. We want to have correct representation. And this is when you come back, you say, okay, so that's what we were saying. Something to keep in our minds when the next one comes. So.
Absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, I think Osceola County has even said this census is already dated because we have so much growth. So unfortunately, by the time it's published, it's already out of date. So definitely in 10 years from now, folks, try to make sure that you get involved, because what also happens is Osceola is still considered a smaller county. We're like 385,000 or 390,000. But if we were reported for more numbers, we would be eligible to more funds that are, available to us. Like we saw during, unfortunately, COVID and CARES Act dollars coming for rental assistance. Orange County got so much more than us because of our classification on a county. So those numbers are important for so many reasons for us.
I mean, and we love Orange County, and we appreciate that they put up with the fact that we're a little bit cooler than they are, and it's all good. You can't say anything. I can, of course.
Understood. I'm always fighting for Osceola because a lot of times up here in Tallahassee, people will refer to my area as Orlando. And I definitely correct them that, although Orlando is nearby and, we are friendly with them, we are most definitely different and have a different community.
Sure. Although we like that Buddy Dyer guy. He's all right,
Absolutely. Anybody who graduated from Osceola High School is pretty okay by me.
There you go. Hey, I want to make sure this is correct. I'm going to put the contact information, and we didn't test this beforehand, but I want to make sure it's correct before we go too far. Phone number good too?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Once in a while, it's a lucky moment. So anything else you want to kind of share with us? I mean, I just want to go back and kind of real quick, highlight what you had said. You addressed a couple things that were hyper local for us. And I think that's the main reason why we really appreciate you coming on, as you spoke of, the lake and the hydrilla. These are all issues that are right here and right now. And so plugging in to a relationship, connecting with your representatives is really huge. And I know we're all busy, but there is time to do that, because otherwise you must be figuring, you're wishing more people would reach out to you. So hope that they'll take that information right there and be comfortable in getting a hold of you and saying, hey, I've got a question, right? And that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. If they have an issue with a state agency, I mean, we get so many requests all over the board of folks that need help and that come to us kind of as a last resort. But also, if you have a question about some, legislation you're hearing, I know a lot of times teachers will hear something through their union, but they don't know the bill number or the details, so they'll reach out. So, I mean, really anything that you need for us, we're here for. But if you do sign up for my updates too, I'll keep you updated and following on social and following you. But I can't always be everywhere. So I appreciate when folks reach out to me with their issues. I mean, obviously, I know there's a hydrilla issue and we have issues with HOAs. And I appreciate that our constituents are consistent and make sure that they let us know about that. But there's a lot of things that sometimes we don't hear about, or it doesn't come across our desk. So please let us know those things that affect you, because there's a lot of changes that we can make, like I've said before, that are bipartisan. So we just need to know what you need help with.
Perfect. And we believe in social media. We think it strengthens our communities. And sometimes people take a different turn, and we all realize that happens. But maybe if you have an issue, I'll speak to somebody. If you have an issue, something in the community, you're unsure to who to turn to, you're not sure who your representative is, certainly no harm in reaching out to Representative Kristen Arrington. I'm sure she'd be glad to help you. And that's such a better decision than turning to social media and saying, hey, look, I have enough. I'm offended by this, and I don't like what I'm seeing in my community. If that's what you have to do, go ahead and do it. But then also reach out to your elected officials, your representatives, because they can actually make a difference in what you're discussing, what you might be going through. Agree?
Absolutely. And even on social media, they can reach out to me too, and send me messages there as well. But it is definitely much more powerful when I'm in a committee, or when I'm speaking and I'm giving a story of an actual constituent, or I have a story or a situation, rather than I'm just telling my opinion on something. So please, reach out to us with your issues and your stories, because we most definitely want to be a voice for you.
Well, again, I know it's Monday, and I know you have a long agenda for the day, and one being get a nice hot cup of coffee up there in Tallahassee, the frigid zone of Florida.
Absolutely. I have a feeling I probably have about 2 more cups that I need to get myself going for the day. But I appreciate talking to you as always, Keith, and everything you all do for Osceola. Thank you.
I'm glad to do it. And again, are you available next Monday at 9:00?
Absolutely. I've got you
Perfect.
on my calendar reoccurring. So I look forward to doing this every Monday through session.
Awesome. We
You'll probably
appreciate
see
it.
worse bags under my eyes as we go along here, and the days get a little bit longer and the sleep gets a little bit less. But I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to speaking to you next Monday.
Well, we appreciate the hard work as one of our representatives. We really do. We appreciate your being transparent and your openness and availability to talk to us. That is how it's supposed to work. And like you said, sometimes people don't feel exactly like our representatives are feeling, and however that works back and forth. The reality is it should be a discussion. And I know you are open to do that and hear what people are saying. So we thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith.
All right. I'm going to do what I didn't do earlier, which is end this with that one video that I just somehow it didn't get to, but we'll close with that. In the meantime, we really thank you, Kristen. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with State Representative from District 43, that is Kristen Arrington, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County.